Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right. Once again, we are on. He is the great Mike Steph. I am the Mojo King, and this is Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the 19 Media Group. Mike Steph, how are you today?
You really going to ask me this question? How am I? I mean, personally.
Well, don't get too carried away until we get to the Thursday night game.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of why I'm not really looking forward to this episode, because I thought I could dip and dodge the team that's on my head, the team that's on my crown, but I can't. But I got good health. I'm not sick. No cough. No sniffles. No fever. I'm doing better than some guy. But besides that, no, I'm doing good. I can't really complain. How about you, bro?
I could complain about a lot, but we will get there on Thursday because Aaron Rodgers owes me some money. But before we get to that, let's talk about better things. Mike Steph's one big thing.
Well, this week my one big thing is actually a real big thing. I mean, sure, I never come small, but I'm going to talk about the state of the league at this point in time. Might as well say the midway point of the season. The two conferences couldn't be more different than white and black, than MAGA and democracy. I'm sorry. Wrong forum. Strike that from the record. State of the league. Let's just get to it before I dig myself a deeper hole. AFC. The AFC conference is piss poor at the moment. You know, top heavy at best. Half of the conference is under 500. Like literally half of the conference is under 500. 8 teams under 500. 7 of those 8 teams that are under 500 have 2 wins or less. The surprise of the conference is actually the resurrection of the Denver Broncos, who stand at the record of 5-3. Winners of 5 of the last 6. And for all the slander that I've given Sean Payton over the last 2 years, I guess I got a lot of crow to eat, even though I don't eat crow. Now, Miami just got Tua back, but they're 2-5. Cincinnati always starts off slow. They're 3-5 and they're hanging around. But who's the best team? Who really is the best team in the conference? I would have said Baltimore until last Sunday, in which they lost to the lowly Browns, headed by Jameis Winston. KFC. Kansas City. Kansas City is undefeated at 7-0. But are they truly unbeatable? Buffalo is just chugging along at 6-2 and already have a 4-game lead in the AFC East. Now, if we switch over to the NFC, it's total opposite. 3 teams are in the playoffs, and 1 is a game out. And I'm just talking about the NFC North. All the teams are above 500. The West, the NFC West, is led by the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are leading the NFC West at the record of 4-4. But more importantly, they're 2-0 in the division. And the rest are tied or a game back. So that's going to be a real fight for who's going to get out of that division. The only teams that are truly out to pasture are the Giants, the Saints, and the Panthers. Now, the one team I'm leaving for last, or almost last, are the Detroit Lions, which coincidentally lead the conference at the record of 6-1. The Lions are head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC. They are averaging 43 points per game in their last 4 games. Jared Goff is an MVP candidate. Dan Campbell is on a mission and has been on a mission for the last 2.5 seasons. Because, once it clicked, it's been go time. We have a revelation in the nation's capital, in Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. They're 6-2 and they're at top of the NFC East. Philly, for all their drama, for all their hubbub, for all their calls for the head coach Nick Sirianni, they're 5-2, but they're held together by spit in a drain. Atlanta in the South reigns on top of the South. The Atlanta Falcons keeping hope alive and a record of 5-3. In Green Bay, Green Bay, yes, the land of the cheeseheads. They're feeling themselves so much at a record of 6-2. And the bottom line is it's going to be a dogfight in the NFC. A couple good teams are going to be on the outside looking in. And then the AFC is going to be the best of the worst. So it's going to be an interesting back half of this regular season. And that is Mike Steph, one big thing. Yeah.
I have a quick question. How long before we start talking about worrying about the perfect season from Kansas City? How many more games they have to win?
You know, I don't want to put it past them. I think they're probably looking at a 15-2 record. But I don't know. I really can't answer that question. I'm not trying to get out the question, but I really can't answer that question because it would not surprise me at this point in time. It would not surprise me if they go 17-0, because for the last couple of weeks they've been held dead to rights, and yet they continually find ways to win. So until somebody puts a stake in their heart, call them Dracula, call them vampires, call them the two things I just said.
All right, let's move on to Thursday night football. We have the Houston Texans coming to New York to face the New York Jets. The Texans are 6-2. The Jets are 2-6, but the Jets are 2-point favorites. And the projected total right now is 42.5 points. That means Vegas is telling us that the Texans will score 20.25, while the Jets score 22.25. We're very early in the week, so it's a little bit difficult to talk about injuries. But the things we do know for sure is that Houston will be without their top two wide receivers. Nico Collins is out at least until week 10 with a hamstring injury, and Stephon Diggs had a non-contact injury with his knee. They're still evaluating, but I would say there's close to no chance he's ready for Thursday. Also, left tackle Jared Patterson left last week in the second quarter with a concussion, so he is in concussion protocol. On the Jets side, again, too early to really break down most of the injuries, but CJ Mosley, their linebacker, is getting an MRI on his neck. Mike Steph, what do you have to say about your team?
Do I really got to talk? I mean, I know it's my job. I know I can't let my bias get in the way of actually us presenting a show to the masses, to the wonderful masses who follow HGF week after week after week. But I'm tired of being a broken record week after week after week. But I'm going to put my professional pants on. I'm going to put my big boy pants on, and I'm going to actually talk about this game, even though you can look on the look on my face is the look of utter disgust. So I'm going to talk about the Texans first. The Texans are winner of 4 of the last 5 games, albeit the last 2 were they won in less than dominating fashion. A last-second loss against the Packers on the road and a closer than it should have been victory against the Colts this past Sunday. As my partner has already stated, this is a beat-up team with multiple injuries to integral skill players. To Nico Collins and the aforementioned Stephon Diggs, who have combined for so far this season for 79 catches and 1,063 yards with 6 touchdowns. It would not surprise me at the very least if they lean even more on the running game, with Joe Mixon being the bell cow. Now, the Texans are a top half of the league team statistically, ranking 14th in scoring at 23.5 points per game and giving up 22.4 points per game on defense. One thing for sure is that CJ Stroud so far has not really succumbed to that dreaded sophomore jinx. Now, speaking of jinxes, I'll go over to my New York Jets. Now, I'm sorry, Mo. If the volume gets a little bit high, hopefully you can put it down to 0 so you don't have to hear me venting and kvetching and complaining in your ears. But trust me, this value is probably going to get higher by the end of this segment. My New York Jets into pathetic selves. Loses of 5 straight. I have a stat. This is the 3rd straight season. The 3rd straight season that this team has had a 5-game losing streak. Do you know how uncommon that is in the game of football, in the NFL? How is that possible? But anyway, their latest loss this time was against arch rival and equally inept, but at least more competent than us, the New England Patriots, allowing a last-minute TD drive to unofficially put an end to their season. What else is there to say about them? Well, I got a whole bunch. They're 2-6, coming off 3 losses since the coaching change. That was supposed to be the magic elixir. That was supposed to be the important spark. But that spark has turned into a burning house of cards, with the embers still spreading throughout the complex, throughout the franchise, throughout the city. Just the halfway point with no hope. We have a quarterback whose narcissistic ways have drained all the joy, all the energy out of this team. And we have a regressing Sauce Gardner, a prima donna of running back in Breece Hall, and more importantly, an almost head coach who is clearly over his head due to being thrown to the wolves by an asinine owner, and more importantly, has proved so far that he's a coordinator at best. And if you was expecting me to get into the stats and trends involving my Jets, you're mistaken. The only stat that makes any point for me to say is that they're 2-6. No, I don't think they're going to win. No, I don't think they're going to cover. No, I don't think they're going to spread. I mean, they're going to cover the spread. And no, I don't really think that I care enough to watch this horrific game being played on prime time on Halloween. So I think I just answered the question. Jets favored by 2? Are you out your effing mind? So my prediction would be Houston +2, and the over-under, I'm going to go over because why not? Because we give up 30 points a game. Matter of fact, we gave up 25 points to a team that can't even score. So even though they don't got any wide receivers, guess what? I guarantee you, Texans are probably going to try to put up 25 to 30. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I think honestly that was well put. I'm a bit upset with the Jets, to say the least. I'm a little bit tired of seeing them on national TV, and they're right back on national TV this week. By the way, in case you're curious, they will be back on national TV in week 11, and then that should be the end of them, unless we see them in the playoffs, which we're not. As far as this game, Houston is 6-2. They've won 4 of their last 5. But out of their 6 wins, 5 of them have been by 1 score or less. In fact, they only have a +9 point differential, which is insane for a 6-2 team. Tank Dell will be leading this wide receiver group. He's very talented, but he hasn't shown quite as much as he showed before his injury last year. After that, Xavier Hutchinson, maybe a Robert Wood sighting. I think that's the reason that this spread is as close as it is. Actually, pro Jets, I don't know. Well, I understand why you would not be pro Houston going out there and thrashing teams, considering all the injuries, considering Stroud, although has been good, has not quite been up to last year's standards. Why would you pick the Jets? Just why would you do that? This is one of those lines. I think I actually said it last week when Minnesota was underdogs. I don't get it, and I don't get this one. I feel like Vegas knows something I don't know. Maybe Puka Nacua is about to get traded over to the Jets. I don't understand it. I am definitely going to take the Texans in this. I take them outright. And as far as the over/under, I think I have to go under. I think I do because I don't trust the Jets to score, and you have to worry a little bit about this Texan offense. But you know what? The Jets defense, they got lit up by Brissett after Drake May got injured. Which, what are we doing?
And they gave a big play to someone named Butte.
Yep, the Jets gave up the Butte.
Yes, they gave up the Butte.
Speaking of,
this would probably be a perfect part to insert Prude Awakenings.
We're talking things that make you blush, but trust us, it's a must. From awkward to taboo, we're here to guide you through. It don't matter if you're a bit of a prude, it's a Prude Awakening.
All right, let's shift over to Survivor. Mike Steph, first of all, do you know that I actually took your Jets this past week?
Yeah.
I feel like Aaron Rodgers owes me $500,000. I'm just saying. But I do have still survivors, not in the original Survivor anymore, but the comebacks after I think week 3, and then I have a couple from a little bit later. So I am still a survivor, although the big prizes are now out of reach thanks to the New York Jets. All right, let's look at this week. I believe there's 6 or 7 games of at least 6-point favorites. I'm going to run through them. Mike Steph, you tell me which one catches your eye.
Okay.
All right. We have the Broncos heading to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The Ravens are 9.5-point favorites. We have the Raiders heading to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. The Bengals are 7.5-point favorites. We have the New Orleans Saints heading to Carolina to face the Panthers. The Saints on the road are 7-point favorite, at least in part because Derek Carr's coming back. The Dolphins are heading to Buffalo to face the Bills. The Bills are 6.5-point favorites. The Jaguars are heading to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a 7.5-point favorite. The Colts are 6-point underdogs to the Vikings. So the Vikings are the 6-point favorites in Minnesota. And finally, a game that we'll discuss a little bit later, the Buccaneers are heading to Kansas City to face the undefeated Chiefs. The Chiefs are 8.5-point favorites. Mike Steph, do any of these catch your eye? Would you pick any of these teams? And if not, do you have somebody else you'd like to pick?
Okay. The most glaring one, since we're talking about survivor pools, the no-brainer to me probably would be the Eagles over the Jaguars. But I don't know if there's going to be another possibility in which you can pick the Saints to safely get through. You said Derek Carr is coming in. That doesn't fill me with confidence, like whoop-de-damn-do. It's more specifically on how putrid the Panthers are. And they went back to Bryce Young, even though the Panthers are at home, so what? So that would be my pick of the week to try to just like sneak a team through. Because if the Saints can't beat the Panthers, albeit on the road, then what are we doing? So that would be my pick. Saints over the Panthers. Even though, like I said, the no-brainer pick would be the Eagles over the Jaguars.
Well, I'm actually with you. I think that Saints-Carolina game is probably a game I'm going to lean towards, particularly if Bryce Young is starting and Derek Carr is starting. I am a little bit worried about Derek Carr first game back. We just saw the Dolphins with Tua, and the Dolphins didn't really look that crisp with Tua back for the first week. It's very possible Carr does the same thing with the Saints, but Bryce Young just does not look like he can control an NFL-worthy team at the moment. So I'm definitely with you on that one. I think my no-brainer of the week would be to take the Chiefs because the Buccaneers have all of those injuries. We're going to talk about that game a little bit more later. The 8.5 points is a little bit interesting, but I think the Chiefs should definitely figure out a way to win that. And my last game that I am going to look strongly at, and I think I still have them because I think every time I've picked them before, they've eliminated me, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, they're going to be at home. They're playing against the Raiders. The Raiders play teams close but always seem to lose. And the Bengals, for as bad as they've played, have beaten every bad team they've played except for week 1 against the Patriots. And it was week 1. I kind of let that go. But they beat the Panthers. They beat the Giants. They beat the Browns. The Raiders are in that league as far as I'm concerned. So I do like the Bengals here. And like you mentioned, I'm not sure how confident I am on picking the Bengals the rest of the season, how they've been playing. Back to your thing, just real quick. I do want to say I'm a little bit worried about that Jaguars-Eagles game, and only because of this. The Jags have been playing considerably better recently, even though they're losing, and the Eagles continue to win, but they win every game very ugly. Like the score may not show it at the end, but like during the game, it never feels like they control anything.
I have one extra. The Patriots and the Titans. Yeah, it's not a big spread, but once again, if you're looking at a way to sneak one of these putrid teams in just to get them over it, Patriots coming off a victory. Titans are 1-6. They're in disarray. Patriots might be riding a little bit high. Their defense is still decent. So that would be a game just in case if you want to try to sneak another team in. Patriots over the Titans. You see what the Jets have brought me to. I'm actually picking the Patriots to win anything.
Yeah, well, that's the only reason I don't trust that, just because they beat the Jets. So what? Everybody beats the Jets. I would like to point out, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Mike Steph. As far as Survivor goes, generally speaking, I work with the idea of make it through this week and we'll figure out the rest of the weeks later. Oddly, the reason I picked the Jets last week was because I was trying to negotiate a little bit of into the future, which bit me in the butt. But I would put up this caution. I think you really do have to pay attention in the next couple of weeks, because there's a couple of weeks coming up. I believe it's weeks 11 and 12 that not only are there multiple teams on bye, but multiple bad teams are on bye, which is going to make it really tough. You're probably going to have to pick against a good team to even make it through Survivor. So you might want to map out who you think you might want there and make sure you don't take them before those times.
Good strategy.
Yeah, what do I know? I just lost because of your Jets.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
You know who they brought into the fold? You know there's always a connection with this gangreenish franchise that I root for. They brought into the fold former Jets head coach Robert Saleh to consult the offense. Defensive guru Robert Saleh was brought into Green Bay to consult the offense. The petty is real. The subs are real. The passive aggressiveness is real as well.